All right, let's get right into it. Today we're diving deep into a pretty pivotal moment, I'd say, in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Yeah.
Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa,
Oh,
launched by Hamas on October 7th, 2023.
right?
We're going to be focusing on the Al Jazeera documentary,
Okay.
which means what is hidden is greater.
Wow.
And it features never-before-seen footage and interviews, which gives us an inside look at how this whole operation went down.
So we're going to be hearing from some people that we don't normally see in the media.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like Mohammed Dizaf, the head of Hamas's military wing, the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades. He makes a rare appearance.
Okay.
And you actually hear him, talking about their strategy.
Wow, that's pretty rare.
Yeah, and you also see Yahya Sinwar, who's Hamas's political leader, not just directing everything, but like he's actually there on the front lines in Rafah.
Oh, wow. So the documentary shows both the military and political perspectives from Hamas.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
And the footage is pretty striking.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, you see Hamas fighters breach the Gaza-Israel barrier.
Oh.
The fighters pour through, and then there are these coordinated attacks on Israeli settlements and military bases.
I see.
It's really intense. And the documentary goes into detail about the types of explosives they used
Oh, interesting.
and how they placed them strategically to like breach the barrier
Right.
at multiple points all at once.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they really had this planned out in advance.
Yeah, and in the footage, they even seized tanks and other military equipment from the Israelis.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, the footage is hard to watch at times, but it's important to understand like the scale of the attack
Yeah, absolutely.
and the coordination involved.
No, I agree.
You can see why this just completely caught intelligence off guard.
Yeah, I can see why.
And then, you have Mohammed Deif,
Right.
this guy who's always been like shrouded in mystery.
So you're kind of a legendary figure.
Yeah, and he suddenly appears in this documentary giving orders.
Okay.
And there's this one scene where he tells his commanders, he says, "We must change the course of history to be the ones who take the lead in this stage and achieve a day of God's days where the banners are raised."
It's a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Well, it seems like it reveals a lot about their mindset going into this. They weren't just aiming for some kind of tactical victory.
Right.
They wanted to like reshape the whole power dynamic.
Yeah.
And, his language, it really highlights the deeply ideological nature of this conflict.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hamas's, complete belief in their cause.
It wasn't just about, territory or resources. This was about changing the whole narrative,
Yeah.
asserting their power, and achieving a kind of divine victory in their eyes.
Wow. I see.
And then with Sinwar being right there on the front lines, I mean, it really shows that, unified front within Hamas.
Yeah, definitely both the political and military leadership were completely committed to this operation.
Yeah, we also have to remember the human cost on both sides, right?
Of course.
Hundreds of Israeli soldiers and officers were killed.
Right.
Over 250 were captured.
Yeah.
And for the Palestinians, thousands of casualties and just widespread destruction in Gaza.
Yeah, it's devastating on both sides.
It is. And the documentary features commentary from this expert, Andreas Krieg.
Okay.
And he argues that Israel's response, as forceful as it was,
Yeah.
ultimately reveals a failure to grasp the depth of Palestinian resistance.
That's interesting. What does he say?
Well, he says that Israel's strategy of destruction is not a measure of success, but proof of failure in confronting an idea deeper than Hamas, which is the resistance of the Palestinian people.
I see. So it's not just a conflict over land, right?
Yeah.
It's this clash of ideologies, of narratives, and ultimately a fight for survival and recognition.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really thought-provoking.
So we've seen the planning, the execution, the human toll.
Right.
We've even glimpsed the ideology behind this operation.
Yeah.
But what happened next?
Yeah, what happened next?
Did the documentary cover the aftermath at all?
Yeah, they actually did. The documentary describes the intense negotiations that led to a ceasefire agreement in mid-October 2023.
So let's dive into that. What were the terms of the ceasefire and what were the demands from both sides?
Well, Hamas
Right.
demanded the release of prisoners and significant aid for Gaza's reconstruction.
Okay.
And meanwhile, the Israeli military was actively targeting Hamas leadership,
Oh, wow.
including al-Haddad himself.
I mean,
Imagine giving interviews while on the run.
That's wild.
It really shows the stakes involved.
Yeah, for both sides.
For both sides.
Did the documentary analyze the overall impact of the operation at all?
They did.
Yeah.
Like, was it considered a success for Hamas?
Right.
Well, it definitely sent shockwaves through Israel.
Right.
Israeli military expert Alon Abatar, who's featured in the documentary, admits Hamas surprised us with their military capabilities and their determination to fight to the end.
Wow.
And it forced Israel to really reassess their intelligence and defensive strategies.
So it was a strategic victory for Hamas.
At least in the short term, yes.
Wow.
But it came at a huge cost. And the long-term consequences are still unfolding.
Yeah.
This operation has exposed deep vulnerabilities on both sides.
Right.
And raises serious questions about the future of this conflict.
Absolutely. This documentary has given us a really powerful look into a turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But as we've seen, this is far from over.
Yeah, definitely not.
What are your thoughts on the long-term implications and how this event might shape the future of the region?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, great.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We just saw how Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa, shook things up,
Yeah, for sure.
in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And now let's sort of unpack the potential long-term consequences.
Yeah.
Not just the immediate aftermath, but
No.
the broader picture.
I think the operation definitely shattered whatever paradigm was there. It seriously challenged Israel's perception of security and their military dominance.
It's true. And for Palestinians, it's reignited that sense of resistance.
Right.
Like a belief that change is possible, even when you're facing incredible odds. So where do we go from here? What are some potential scenarios that could play out?
Well, one possibility, and it's not a good one, is further escalation.
Right.
Israel's response to Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa was swift and devastating.
Yeah.
This cycle of violence could easily continue, potentially leading to an even larger conflict.
That's a scary thought and a real risk.
Yeah.
But could this operation, as jarring as it was, create some kind of opportunity for dialogue? I know it seems far-fetched right now.
It does.
But could it be a catalyst for change?
I mean, it's not impossible.
Okay.
Sometimes a major shock to the system can force both sides to reevaluate their positions and consider new approaches.
Maybe this event could push for a renewed effort towards a two-state solution.
Yeah.
Or at least spark some kind of meaningful negotiations.
That would be the best outcome.
Right.
But it would require a massive shift in attitudes and a willingness to compromise from both sides.
Let's talk about Hamas. They've come out of this looking stronger than ever.
I have.
How might this newfound strength affect their internal dynamics and their relationship with Fatah?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Hamas's military achievements could boost their position within Palestinian politics.
Yeah.
It's possible they'll demand a more dominant role in any future negotiations.
And how do you think Fatah will react to this?
Well, they've been sidelined.
Yep.
They might feel the need to reassert their own authority.
Right.
This could lead to increased tensions between them, and that would undermine any efforts toward Palestinian unity.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Let's not forget about the international community.
Right.
They play a huge role.
For sure.
How might the response shape things?
Their reaction is key. Will they condemn Hamas's actions?
Right.
And just support Israel's right to defend itself?
Yeah.
Or will they acknowledge the grievances fueling Palestinian resistance?
Right.
The stance they take could influence future diplomatic efforts.
It's a complex situation, no easy answers.
Not at all.
It feels like Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa has opened a Pandora's box.
I agree.
Some good, some not so good.
Yeah, this conflict is deeply entrenched. Predicting the future is impossible.
Right.
We can analyze what we have, consider different perspectives, and try to make sense of this ever-evolving situation.
That's what we're doing here on the deep dive.
Yeah.
We're not offering solutions.
Right.
But we're providing context.
Yes.
So our listeners can engage with this issue in a thoughtful way.
Well said. Understanding, not oversimplification, is the path towards a more peaceful future.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The human cost.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in all the politics and strategy, but we can't forget about the people whose lives are shattered by this violence.
You're absolutely right. Behind every headline and statistic are real people with families, with dreams,
hopes, aspirations.
the trauma on both sides. But both Israeli and Palestinian, is immense.
It is.
It'll take generations to heal.
And this operation has only added to that trauma.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that violence begets violence.
Right.
And ultimately, there are no winners.
Everyone loses.
Everyone loses.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners really hear that.
Me too.
This conflict is far from over. But maybe, just maybe, Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa could be a turning point,
Okay.
a catalyst for a more hopeful future,
It would be nice.
however unlikely it seems right now.
We can hope that both sides can find a way to break free from this cycle
Yeah.
and work towards a future where peace and coexistence are possible.
It won't be easy.
No, but the alternative is just too bleak to think about.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive about Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa.
Yeah, we really went into detail about the tactics and how it could reshape the whole region.
But before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, a question that kind of stays with you, even after all the headlines fade away.
I think that's important, you know? It's not just about giving information, it's about making people think more deeply.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, here's what I want you to consider. Does Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa represent like a total shift in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
That's a huge question.
Yeah, has it changed things so much that we're either headed for a stalemate
Right.
or maybe, paradoxically,
Yeah.
a new chance for peace?
That question has a lot of implications.
It does.
On the one hand, this operation has definitely made the divisions deeper.
It has.
It's fueled this cycle of violence that seems almost impossible to stop.
Yeah, it shattered any idea that there are easy solutions or that things will be stable.
Yeah. But on the other hand,
What do you think?
it's forced everyone to take a hard look at the situation,
Okay.
to confront some uncomfortable truths that maybe we were ignoring before.
It's challenged all those assumptions about power,
Yeah.
about security, about what this conflict is really about.
It's a stark reminder that even the most difficult situations can change in unexpected ways.
And those changes, even though they can be disruptive and painful,
Yeah,
can sometimes create opportunities for change that we never thought possible.
that's true.
So as we leave you with this thought, we really encourage you to dig deeper,
Yeah.
explore this conflict, engage in some thoughtful dialogue about what the future holds. That's all for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.